Welcome back, Collective. My name is David William Pierce. For those of you who are new, welcome to this space. Today, in this video, I'm going to be exploring the impurity of action. It's the last of the three malas, the three impurities. So if you're someone who's successful in your career, you meditate, you've been on retreats, you've invested in coaching, therapy, plant medicine, all of the above and beyond, and yet you still catch yourself repeating the same emotional patterns in your relationships, in your life, then this video is for you. Today, we're exploring a tantric teaching that explains why this happens, the impurity of action, karma mala, which is it's a veiled expression of Kriya Shakti, which is the power of action. This karma mala is the mechanism that keeps us feeling incomplete, unworthy, or feeling wrong, no matter how much work we've done. I think you'll feel a kind of relief when you hear what this teaching actually says. I know that I've been sitting with these teachings for the last 5 years, and I've been sitting with these specific teachings on the malas for the last few weeks, specifically so. And they've really landed and resonated with me at a level they haven't done previously. And so I want to share the value in them for you and how they can support you. And I'll give you the answers up front. You don't need to fix every pattern to become whole. You don't need to stop being the version of yourself who believes those patterns define you. And once you understand this, change becomes so much easier. And stay with me to the end and I'll show you how this works and how you can dissolve these patterns at their root as I'm doing and working on myself. Before I get into that, let me introduce myself a little more fully. David William Pierce, welcome to the space. Aligned living has become my passion. I've been a yoga teacher for the last decade, been studying classical tantric teachings and hypnotherapeutic practices for the last 5 years, as well as other various modalities from a plethora of beautiful, amazing teachers, and now wanting to pay some of that forward and share some of that with you. And I've been called to share these tantric teachings because they have become so foundational for me and so supportive. And I think they're simultaneously simple and complex. Simple in nature, complex in understanding. And so I want to share a little of my personal insights so that they might support you. Because there was a time when I genuinely believed I couldn't be loved until I sorted myself out, until I fixed the past, processed every wound, earned my way into worthiness. And maybe you felt a version of that too yourself. The teaching we're diving into today was one of the first that really resonated with me, and I would say began to liberate me from that cycle. In classical non-dual Tantra, the impurity of action, karma mala, refers to the bondage of karma. Not karma as punishment, but karma as patterned momentum. You've likely heard of karma. It means action, Sanskrit. I'll leave information about Sanskrit here. You've less likely heard of Kriya. Kriya Shakti is the divine power of action, and karma mala is what Kriya Shakti becomes veiled into. It's the other end of the spectrum of that. If the divine expression is Kriya Shakti, then the human expression, the ignorant expression is karma mala, the impurity of action. It's the third of the three malas, these impurities, pre-conscious beliefs that lead us to think that we can't be whole until we add something, that we can't be pure until we remove other things, and that we'll feel okay once we've figured everything out, once we've processed everything. But the Tantric text tells us something incredibly liberating. Nothing need to be added to make you complete, nor removed to make you pure. In other words, your wholeness is not at the end of your healing journey. It's the starting point from which liberation becomes possible. Attachment and aversion are just two forms of the same forgetting, the belief that something outside you must change before you can rest. Let me ask you this. As you listen, notice what happens inside your body. What if nothing needed to be added for you to be or feel enough today? What if nothing needed to be removed for you to feel worthy or safe right now? Just notice your internal shift, even if it's subtle. Tantric teaching says that if you stop being the person who performed the past actions, the karma no longer applies to you. Meaning, you don't escape karma by fixing every past action. You transcend karma by becoming a new expression of yourself. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. One who is no longer defined by those actions. This is the idea of self-sacrifice. Sacrificing the constructed version of self to then evolve into the next iteration. This is why in Tantra, liberation is not a reward, it's a recognition, a recognition. And here's the practical instruction. Become thoroughly convinced that nothing outside you needs to be added or subtracted for you to be whole. Act from authenticity, not compensation. Let your actions arise from the heart rather than the wound. When you do this, your karmic momentum begins to dissolve naturally, effortlessly. Here's the simplest way to understand it. It's not the fruit of your actions that binds you. It's the root. Two people can do the same thing. One is acting from lack, the other from fullness. Tantra doesn't ask us to reject pleasure, success, enjoyment, or desire. It asks instead whether the action arose from our authentic essence nature. Okay, so these three impurities: impurity of individuality, impurity of differentiation, impurity of action. I'll leave link to impurity of individuation here. And very briefly, I'll say that what this means is essentially we forget that we are just an expression of divine consciousness. We see ourselves as separate, as something different from that. And as a result, we have this perpetual sense of not enoughness. And when we can remember that that's actually not true, or even just believe that that's not true, then that impurity begins to expand back into its divine power of will. This divine power of will is an expression of something from within, a giving, rather than trying to acquire something externally to fill a perceived void. The second power, differentiation, is this belief that we are separate from other individuals, from other entities. And as a result, we believe ourselves not to be safe in the world. We seek to acquire resources or to push things away. We forget that we're all the same. When we can remember this, it relates to the Maya Mala. This is the second impurity. And it's expanded expression is the divine power of knowledge. This does relate to this idea of omniscience. And, the power of will is omnipresence. I won't get into why that is right now because it's a little complex. And the power of action is omnipotence. Definitions play into this, but all I'll say is when we can let go of the preconscious, misconstrued belief that we are separate from other entities, we automatically return to a state of being, of empowered realization that we're already safe, and we can give freely rather than try to acquire for our own greed. This third power is about action. When we abide in our essence nature, the actions we take are done purely for the joy of doing that thing. They are conditionless and unconditional, whereas karmic action is conditioned and conditional. When we can act from our essence nature, do something from joy, a giving, a gift with gratitude, the action is free. And when it's not, the action creates more karmic momentum, more contraction, more looping patterns. Personal story. I've been sitting with these teachings for 5 years. I think I said that. Letting them marinate in my mind and dissolve the scars in my being. And recently, revisiting these impurities specifically as a result over these last few weeks, even, I've recognized where I've been acting from a contraction instead of from my fullness. Whoop. For example, I recently created a to-do list where I tried to script, film, edit, and upload 9 pieces of long-form content in half a day, which is ridiculously ambitious, an absolutely Herculean task that would be near impossible for most mere mortals. And I must say, I am one of them. Because I thought it was perfectly reasonable at the time, but by the end of the day, I'd completely not finished that to-do list. I'd finished just over half, and instinctively, a part of me wanted to frame that as failure. But then these teachings kicked in, and I realized that I'd been acting from a place of lack instead of a place of fullness, a place of not enoughness, rather than a place of confidence, from a place of scarcity rather than a place of abundance. Because the truth is, when I remembered that I'm actually already enough, the 50% turned into a win. And I realized I'm better off creating a to-do list that I can actually achieve, that comes from my fullness, that I can give my joy, my playfulness, my presence to fully, rather than pushing myself into burnout. That way I can give with passion what I'm offering, rather than with disdain and a desire to procrastinate profusely has been my pattern in the past. The high-performing clients that I work with, they have come to me with essentially the same underlying tension, that they've done the work, but they're confused why they still feel this way. Because the work they're doing is on the fruit, not the root. It's the wrong perspective. Not wrong, it's just veiled. It's obscured, and that's the value of these teachings. It's to illuminate what's already there. This is why TCH has been something that I've really connected with. this idea of dissolving the deeper identity structure that says I'm not enough unless I need to earn love by, I must fix this part of myself before, all of these false narratives. Through relational presence, hypnotic language, and subtle state shifts, we're able to reorganize the subconscious and let it reorganize itself around a different core, a fundamental belief that we're already whole, even as we grow and evolve, iterate and change, that we're already safe, even when all we have is very little, and that nothing needs to be added or removed for me to belong, that I can find gratitude for what I have and give from a place of joy, what I can afford. And when this becomes embodied, everything changes. Relationship patterns soften. Anxiety, it loses its grip. Authenticity becomes almost effortless. Actions become clean, powerful, grounded. Let me ask you, where in your life are you still trying to earn the right to rest? Where are you acting from fear rather than authenticity? Where are you still being the old version of yourself without realizing it? Where are these impurities at play? When we can identify them, we create the space for change. If something opened inside you whilst listening to this, please let me know in the comments. I'm so curious to see how these teachings land for other people. And an invitation to share one place where you want to act from wholeness instead of worry. And if you're in the collective, thank you for joining. Anything that has stuck with you, please feel invited to share. It's something that I'm curious to know, how these teachings not only have supported you, but how I can support you further with these teachings. If you want deeper support, and you're not already in the Aligned Living Collective, the invitation to join. In there I share weekly teachings and my personal reflections from how these teachings have intertwined with my life and supported me. Plus, I offer mantric tools. I'll leave a video here about Sanskrit and mantra. Very powerful. Aligned yoga, if you're in Mexico City, it's I can't even get into it, but it's my attempt to build upon the giants from whom I've learnt movement, physical well-being. It's a combination of, yes, yoga, other movement modalities, including dance, somatics, but also massage. I will share more about contact massage and contact yoga, essentially. Next time I see you, please ask me if you're in Mexico City. And TCH, Tantric Conversational Hypnotherapy. It's a speaking modality, conversational, naturally, where we can dissolve the root patterns that keep you looping. Essentially, there's a belief structure in place, a subset of one of these three impurities that's at play. When we can understand what it is, we can begin to ladder up and live a life unlimited. Not to say it can happen straight away. Certain impurities linger and energetic scars take time to heal, but it is possible. You don't have to fix yourself to be free. You simply have to remember who you are beneath the patterns. As Tantra reminds us, there is nothing outside of you that must be added to make you complete, nor removed to make you pure. Thank you for being here. Wishing you a beautiful day. And remember, the divine is not above you, it's within you. You are the dreamer, awakening within the dream. Salut.